Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for the Know Your Rights presentation. I'm Dr. Antonio Castro, Ventura Unified Superintendent. I would like to introduce Maria Quiros, VUSD Communications Director, to walk us through some meeting features and information.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending this evening. Any information that you did provide when you logged in this evening will be private and will not be shared or stored. To hear the presentation in Spanish, just click that translation button at the bottom. You'll see that icon here on our screen. And if you'd like to ask a question anonymously, please be sure to click the anonymous button before submitting your question. And to view the slides either in English or in Spanish, please go to the venturausd.org/student/rights and find the link for tonight's presentation slides. They are all there. We will also be putting this recording on that website afterwards as well. Maria, do you mind going ahead and translating that? And then I'll put you into the Spanish translation room.
Buenas tardes a todos, gracias por estar aquí, por asistir. Queremos dejarles saber que cualquier información que haya proporcionado al iniciar la sesión permanecerá privada y no se compartirá ni se almacenará. Para escuchar esta presentación en español, haga clic en traducción o dice translation, que tiene el icono que parece un mundo. Si desea hacer una pregunta de forma anónima, asegúrese de hacer clic en el botón anónimo antes de enviar su pregunta. Para ver estas diapositivas en español, visite el sitio web en nuestra página web del distrito y busque el enlace titulado Conozca sus derechos y preparación para una emergencia familiar. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to go ahead and put you in the translation area. I need to stop sharing first. One moment. Okay, Maria, I'm adding you as the interpreter. Can you try speaking now? If I can't hear you, that means you're in the right spot. You're in the right spot.
Okay, well then, thank you, Maria and Maria. It's now my distinct pleasure to hand the meeting over to our colleagues from El Concilio for tonight's presentation. El Concilio Family Services is an established and reputable agency providing citizen and immigration services as well as youth leadership and development. I want to thank you for sharing your expertise with our community so that we can be as knowledgeable and connected as possible. So I'll hand it over to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invite. So we're from El Concilio Family Services. My name is Giovanni Ambris. I'm the Senior Immigration Specialist for the organization as well as the supervisor of the Immigration Department. I am also an accredited representative with the Department of Justice. Joining me is Maria Luis Juan, who is also an accredited representative, and Maria Rodriguez Centeno, who is a pending representative. So she will shortly become an accredited rep through the DOJ as well. So we will go ahead and pull up the presentation. If you have any questions, we will try to answer them that have been submitted through the Q&A. So we will dedicate some time during the video to answer any questions that are being asked.
Sorry, I was just trying to unmute myself. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maria Rodriguez. As my colleague Giovanni said, I am pending to become an accredited representative, and I will get us started with this presentation. So first, I'm going to just give a brief summary of our organization. So our office has been open since 1975. Helping our community with their immigration process. We're also a nonprofit organization, and we're currently receiving funding from the state of California. So most of our services are free to the community, especially for those community members who receive Medi-Cal, CalFresh, SSI, TANF, CalWORKS, or those with low income. So now I'm gonna talk about what documents we should carry with us if we're U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents, or if we have some other type of immigration status. So if we're U.S. citizens, we can carry with us our California Real ID or our passport or a copy of our passport. Um, some of us might have the booklet or the passport card. Um, so we can carry either the booklet or the card or a copy of those documents. Now, if we're legal permanent residents, we can also carry around with us our California Real ID or our green card or a copy of both of those items. If we have some other type of immigration status, if we have like a work permit, we should carry with us our work permit document or a copy of that. Also, if we have a visa, we should carry with us that visa or a copy of that visa. Um, However, a tourist visa doesn't really count as a immigration status because a tourist visa only allows individuals to be here in the country for no more than 6 months. So it doesn't really protect us from being detained or questioned by an ICE official. Um, so now we're going to move on to talk about what documents we should not carry with us. So we shouldn't carry fake identifications with us or fake immigration documents like fake green cards or like social security cards, documents that do not belong to us, or documents that identify our home country. And then also documents that belong to a U.S. citizen. So we shouldn't carry any of those documents with us. Because if we are stopped and questioned by ICE, if we have those documents in our person or in our property, and if an ICE official gets a hold of them, that could give them a reason to question and detain us. I'm sure that most of you here on this webinar have seen red cards or community organizations have distributed these red cards. So it's important to remind ourselves that this red card only reminds us of our rights. It doesn't necessarily protect us from being arrested or questioned by ICE. So I'm going to pass on the next slide to my colleague Giovanni.
Sorry, I was muted. So just to remind everybody, the red cards are not a get out of jail free card. It's not like Monopoly. It doesn't give you any type of protection. Again, it's just to remind you of your rights, but it does not keep you from being arrested or detained by ICE. Now, it's very important that we know what type of documents we should be looking for if ICE were to show up at your house. So there are two different types of warrants that are issued. The first one that we have that is the most common one, this is the one that most likely they're going to be waving around, is a U.S. Department of Homeland Security warrant for an arrest of an alien. It just means that some director at some office has signed a warrant for the arrest of an alien, but not a judge. All that means is there is now a warrant out for your arrest, but it does not give the ICE officers the authority to enter your property. In order to be able to enter your property, they need to have one signed by a judge. And we have an example of one here on the left where it says judicial. The DHS one is the one that they usually carry with them. So the DHS one on the right does not grant them the authority to enter your property. The one on the left does. So you'll see there's clearly three things that you're going to see. First, you'll notice that the judicial one, the one signed by a judge, says the United States District Court, and it will give the information of the court. It will give the name and the address of the person that they're looking for, and it will specify what it is. In this particular case, it's a search and seizure warrant. And at the very bottom, you'll see that it has the signature of a judge. The other one, the one on the right, the one issued by the Department of Homeland Security, is not going to have the signature of a judge. It's just going to have the signature of an ICE official. Again, this does not give them the authority to enter your property, only the one on the left. Next slide. Now, this is a copy of an actual arrest warrant. So again, you'll notice is the United States District Court. This is one that is going to be signed by somebody in the district courts. So this is just another copy that you can see. So if you see anything that says the Department of Homeland Security, it is not one signed by the judge. It does not grant them the authority to enter your property. So those are the things that you need to look at with the papers that you see. Usually ICE officials will always be waving around the Department of Homeland Security one and acting as if this is the one signed by a judge. And usually it's a tactic that they use to try to trick people into allowing them to enter the property. And that's the thing. If you open the door and allow them to enter the property, they no longer need a warrant signed by a judge because you're allowing them to enter. So that's why it's very important to know what documents you're looking at. So just remember, you need to look out for a document that says the United States District Court. It needs to have your name and it needs to have your address if they're searching for you at your home. Next slide. Everybody in the United States, regardless of if they are a US citizen, a legal permanent resident, a tourist, somebody here on a student visa, or somebody who is here without any documentation, we all have rights. It clearly says in the Constitution that people or persons are subject to these laws. It never states anything about only US citizens are subject to these laws. It is anybody who is in the United States. So it's very important that we know what our rights are. If you are detained by ICE, you have the right to speak to an attorney and to make a phone call. It's a misspelling. We didn't spell phone correctly, but you have the right to make a phone call and you have the right to an attorney. That does not mean that you'll be provided with an attorney. You have to pay for your own attorney. It's very important that you memorize the phone number of a family member or a trusted individual that you will be contacting. It doesn't help you if you memorize the phone number of your attorney, mainly because what happens if you're arrested at night or you're arrested over the weekend? Your attorney is most likely not going to call you back until Monday. So it's very important that you memorize the phone number of a family member or a trusted individual and let that person know who is the attorney that you want them to contact. You have the right to refuse to sign any documents without an attorney present to advise you. So a lot of the times when ICE detains people, they are always pushing to get people to voluntarily return back to their home country without ever seeing an immigration judge. And you have that opportunity. You can do that. However, if you sign that paper, you are waiving your rights to be in front of a judge. Every single person has the right to due process. But if you sign this document, you are waiving your right to due process. You're just saying, I am willing to go back to my home country and that you don't want to fight your removal from the United States. So it's very important that you do not sign any documents until you have an attorney present to advise you of what are the documents that you are signing. This mainly has to do with if you have an opportunity to do an asylum case, or if you have the opportunity for a U visa, which is victims of specific crimes in the United States who have helped law enforcement in their jobs or the district attorney in prosecuting a case, or if you're a T visa, which is people who have been trafficked into the United States, whether it for labor exploitation or sexual exploitation, or if you're a VAWA case, once you sign that paper, if you had an opportunity for any of these types of cases, you lose them. You're renouncing your right to be able to fight to obtain these types of special reliefs in order to remain in the United States. So signing ICE documents could renounce your right to a court trial or be seen by an immigration judge. One other note to people who are here in the United States, if you are here in the US and you've been here for more than 10 years in the United States, there is a specific process called cancellation of removal, but that only applies to people who have been here in the United States for more than 10 years and are able to demonstrate that you have ties to the community, whether it be your children going to school here who are US citizens, whether you volunteer at church or other nonprofit organizations in the community, you're able to apply for that. And that's a way to be able to prevent a removal from the United States. If that is a thing that you want to do, it is very important that you don't sign a document with ICE until you explore all your options with an attorney first. Next slide. So we will be watching a series of 2 videos in our presentation. These are videos that just explain some things that you should know. This first one is how to legally film ICE. It is very important that if you can, that you videotape, record on your phone your interaction with ICE, because it's very important that you say specific things, especially if they try to enter your property without a search warrant signed by a judge. You have to state that you do not give them permission to enter the property. You do not consent to this search of your property or to enter your property. And you also need to say, I'm invoking my Fifth Amendment to remain silent until I can be provided with legal counsel. These phrases don't necessarily seem very important, but they are in a court setting. So it's very important that you say these things. So this first video is going to be how to legally film an ICE arrest. "10 years, you're able to petition the judge to cancel your removal. And the judge could then decide whether they will remove you from the United States or not. If they decide not to remove you from the United States, that's actually a way that you're able to become a legal permanent resident." And how it is that you're supposed to legally film ICE. Let me go ahead and share my video here. So we have the right to be able to film. They are public servants. They're not supposed to prevent you from filming them. But that does not grant people the opportunity or the right to just get into their face and like shove cameras in their face. You do have to maintain a certain distance from them, and you need to start filming, and you film the entire interaction. Try to avoid filming the person who's being arrested, mainly because we live in a time where people can get doxxed, where people can look up or try to find people on social media. Maria Castaño, if you need me to speak slower, I'll speak slower. Yes? A little bit slower? Okay, perfect. So we live in a time where there's people who have a lot of time to look for people online. So we want to avoid showing the face of the person being arrested as much as possible. You can film the ICE agents who are doing the arrest. Stay back a certain amount of distance. If they tell you to step back, it is very important that when you are stepping back, you point the camera down at your feet and you physically film yourself walking back. This is important. because the camera will show that you're complying with those orders. If you're able to record certain types of landmarks like street signs, or like if it's in front of a school, something that could easily identify where this arrest occurred, try to film that. Again, if there are other family members present of the person being arrested, avoid filming them as well. Now, if the officers try to take your phone away from you, it's very important to lock your phone. I know that a lot of people use your the face feature on iPhones to unlock your phones, but I want to let you know that the courts have said that you have the right to privacy on your phone if it's password protected. If it's your face is one of the ways that you're able to unlock your phone, the officer could just grab the phone and point the camera at your face and they can unlock it. Same thing with the tracing the dots. That's another thing that it could be used to unlock your phone. So we highly recommend that you change your phones to password protected, where somebody has to type it in, because that is protected by law. If you have the film interaction of the entire event, make sure you save a copy of it, one that is unedited. And if you know the individual, like if it's a neighbor that's being arrested, try to share the video with that person's family members or with that attorney so that they're able to decide how to release this video and to be able to help the individual that is being arrested. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. So I'm going to pass the time over to Myra.
Hi, so my name is Myra, and I'm also an accredited representative for El Concilio Family Services. And one of my duties as an accredited representative is to do consultations. I know that with this administration, there's a lot of fear of what to do, just in case they do have an interaction with ICE. I think one of the most important things that you need to understand, just like Giovanni mentioned, is that you do have rights. The 14th Amendment actually says explicitly that any person living within its jurisdiction has rights. So a legal permanent resident, DACA holder, if you have TPS, if you are on a simple adjustment of status, work permit, work permit, work permit, um, yeah, basically, like if you have a work permit, you do have rights. And then regardless of your citizen, regardless if you're a citizen or not, you still have rights. So what to do during a traffic stop with ICE agents? I always like to explain to clients that you should try to kind of identify if you're about to interact with either an ICE agent or a police officer during a traffic stop. The reason for this is because usually ICE agents have this badge that says police and then it says ICE, or again, they have this vest that says police, when in reality they are ICE agents. And the most important thing to do here is to stay calm and to stay inside your car. I am really guilty of doing this. I don't lock my car, but it's really important that you do lock your car just in case they try to open the door or tell you to roll down the window and try to speak to you. You don't really have to do those things because you do have the right to say no and who you are. Who are you before you give them any information, and just establishing the fact that you can't give out that information or that you don't want to give out that information to them. So yeah, you could just ask them to identify themselves, maybe their badge numbers or names, and you could also note those down. If you are during a traffic stop and it is an ICE agent, you could ask them if it's possible for you to leave the premises. And then if they say yes, then obviously you just drive off, following the speed limit, of course. If not, then you need to ask if you are under arrest. If you can't leave, don't speak, don't sign anything, do not say your country of birth or legal status, and ask to speak to a lawyer. Another important thing is to say that you do not consent to searches. The Fourth Amendment also protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures. It's meant to limit the power of law enforcement and immigration officials to conduct searches and arrests without proper legal justification. And it applies to all of your property, your house, your car, papers that you have, documents, any kind of property against unreasonable searches and seizures. Next slide, please, Maria. So we have another video, but I know that we can't really hear the sound of it, so hopefully we could see it at the end. So what if ICE arrests you? Again, just don't sign any documents. Understand the fact that you do have rights, and try not to give too much information to them. Again, do not have documents of other people with you. For example, don't carry a passport book of a family member or a friend. That could kind of state implicitly that you are a US citizen when in reality you aren't. And the last thing that you want is for them to say that you are misrepresenting your legal status. One resource that I think is pretty important to have is an ICE detainee locator information. Right there in our slide, it gives you the website of where you could go in and search up the information of the person that's been detained. If they have an A number, you could search them up by A number, country of birth, or if they don't have an A number, you could search them up by full name, country of birth, date of birth, and you just have to make sure that the name is spelled correctly. And you do have to wait some time in between 24 to 48 hours before you could search up the person that was arrested. And not all the detention centers update their information daily. Next slide, please, Maria. And then another thing that I believe is really important is just having a plan and preparing for just in case, preparing a plan just in case you or your family member gets detained by ICE. You have to speak to your family members, to your friends, to whoever you live with, what kind of things you guys need to have in order to prepare yourselves. For example, if you have kids, it's really important that you talk to them and speak to them. And I know it's a really touchy subject for a lot of people. And just let them know that there are people that care for them and that they could contact a family member that they have entrusted them with. So completing an emergency plan with your children's information, if they need any certain type of medication, it's really important to write that down. Again, phone numbers of other family members, just in case if they get picked up during school hours and they can't reach a person or their parents, it's important for them to basically have another trusted adult that they could speak to just in case that happens, so they're not left home alone. And then also another thing, you yourself or whoever is also arrested by ICE to have a couple lawyers in mind just in case they do have to fight their case in court. Picking a lawyer, we do have in the Office of El Concilio a private attorneys list. If you guys would like to come to our office, we could give you that list. But also, the attorney that you choose to represent you has to know your situation as well. When it comes to where if whether you want them to stay in the country, your children in the country, or if you want your children to go with you to your home country. Next slide, please. So some of the services that we offer in the Office of El Concilio, we work in family petitions, adjustment of statuses, renewal of green cards, naturalization, citizenships, VAWA, U visa, consular processing, DACA renewals, advanced parole, military parole in place, removal conditions, fiancé visas. All of our consultations are completely free. And then also, most of our services are very low cost or also for free, depending if you are receiving any benefits like Medi-Cal, Social Security, if you're receiving food stamps. If you don't receive those benefits, if you bring in your most recent taxes, which would be the 2024 taxes, that will kind of give us an idea if you qualify for the office grant or not. And then again, if it applies, then we could offer that service for free or for a low cost. And then the Office of El Concilio is located next to the Oxnard Police Department. The address is 301 South C Street, Oxnard, California, 93030. And then our office phone number is 805-486-9777. And then our Gmail or our email is www.elconciliofs.org.
For the free services that we provide, so we're funded by the state of California. So residents of the state of California who are of a certain income or their family members receive certain types of benefits, like for example, Medi-Cal, CalFresh, SSI, TAMF, for example, are able to qualify for our services to be free. So this is something that the state of California provides for its residents. They're very generous, which is the very good thing because the majority of the clientele for El Concilio receive our services for free. Everybody receives a consultation for free, and usually, depending on the consultation and depending on the situation, we might refer you out to either another organization that provides services for free or to private attorneys. So we work in collaboration with Immigration Warriors. It's a collaborative of lawyers, nonprofit organizations, and public defenders in the counties of San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Ventura, and parts of Los Angeles. So we've all kind of grouped together to try and help the immigrant community be able to get trusted referrals to attorneys that can help them or organizations that can help them with their immigration situations. So if we are unable to provide you with assistance, we will give you a referral to where you can go. And I know that it's very hard to be able to find sometimes pro bono free services within Ventura County. There's a lot of free services in Los Angeles or the Bay Area of California, but in between those two areas, there might not be a lot, but we try to refer them to other organizations that we know also receive funding from the state. Because some organizations for example, might specialize in removal defense, which means that they will help you with bond hearings, they'll help you with an asylum case, they'll help you with these types of processes that you're dealing with the court for free. Or you might be able, or you might need somebody who specifically has experience with T visas, and so we'll refer you out to another organization that can help you with this. We're all working in collaboration because there is a lot of opportunity for bad actors to try to exploit the immigrant community, and we're trying to do our part to be able to help everybody get the correct information. Whenever you want to do anything with immigration, you only want to contact an immigration attorney or an accredited representative through the Department of Justice, like, for example, Myra and myself. It just means that we've received training in the different types of processes with immigration, so we have an idea of how to best help people. Notary publics are not the type of person that you should go to get immigration help. The person that sells you that does your taxes, or the person that sells you insurance, the person that sells you Herbalife, none of these people should be doing anything for you regarding immigration. Believe me when I say the wrong type of help can hurt you. So if you need a referral, you're more than welcome to come to our organization, and we'll give you referrals to different organizations or attorneys that we've worked with in the past. But it's very important that you do not go with the notary public. It's not the same here in the United States. They can only say, I saw you sign a piece of paper. They should not be offering legal consultations. So you're going to post the videos, right, to your guys' website?
They are posted already.
Perfect. Maria, do you have the family preparedness plan?
Yes, let me share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. Is this the one that you're referring to?
It hasn't popped up just yet. Let's give it a sec. Yes. Let's just go down to the actual form. So I believe this is in a Google Drive, right, Dr. Castro?
It's actually on the same web page that you'll find the videos. So if you go to venturausd.org, go to students, know your rights, you'll find everything there.
Perfect. So this is a caregiver's authorization affidavit. This was prepared by another big legal organization called ILRC. They're the ones that have drafted this and made sure that it's that legally they're able to give this out. It just basically says that you give somebody the authorization to be able to, for example, pick up your kids from school. This is not a permanent solution. I do want to stress that. This is for an emergency. I know that we're living in times that it is very scary what's happening. We all see things on social media, but this is a moment that we all need to have conversations as a family to decide what is the best situation for your family. This only grants temporary, and it doesn't help really with like medical situations or things like that. But this is to allow somebody to be able to pick up your kid from school if you're unable to. So you would complete this form. You have to give certain information. Can you scroll down a little bit, Maria? About the person that you're authorizing to do this. And they need to provide this letter plus their identification at school. I would also recommend, if you can, put this individual and on your emergency contacts with the school as a backup. Keep scrolling down. So you would, as a family, you would write down the child's information, their date of birth, their cell phone, their school name, and their address, as well as the phone number of that school. It is very important that the person knows where they can locate your children. You don't want them to have to be playing a guessing game of what school they're in. Also, if you have any information about medical history, like if you know they have like a peanut allergy, you want to include that, as well as any known medical conditions and medications that they need to take, the name of the medication, how often they need to take it, the doctor's information, as well as any healthcare insurance that they might have. Can you scroll down? Emergency phone numbers, like obviously the local police department, fire, poison control, family members that they can contact. So for example, the mother's phone number, the father's phone number, and any other person that you might want to also put on here. It's important that people have your phone number, whether it be home or cell phone, and the information of your work phone wherever you're working. Can you keep scrolling down? As well as the information about their doctors, their dentists, their optometrists, these types of things. I know it's a lot of information that you have to note on here, but this is to better prepare the person who is going to pick up your kid to know what they need to do. Now, there's a section on here where it says consulate. It's very important that you specify, which consulate. At the very least, they should contact. If you are a Mexican national, a Mexican citizen, it is very important, and we've spoken to the Mexican consulate about this, that you obtain dual citizenship for your children if you are a Mexican citizen. The reason why I say this is if you want to be reunited with your children in your home country, the way that they're able to pick up your kids and facilitate that reunification is going to be if they are Mexican citizens. So this is the time to get them dual citizenship. This is something that they've always stressed. This is a way to be able to unify the family if your wish is to be reunited in your home country. Also on here, you need to put down the attorney that you want them to contact, as well as if there is a church that you want to be contacted as well, like a father or a pastor or something like that. Can you scroll down? This is a list of documents that you should have somewhere. I highly recommend a digital copy of these documents, like on your phone, on a camera phone, or sorry, your film roll in your camera, something to be able to have digital copies of all these things, because paper is very easy to lose. Even if you just email it to yourself and then you can share it with someone, that would be very helpful. Again, this is only a temporary solution. Ultimately, if you decide as a family that you want your children to stay in the United States so that they can continue their education here, you need to do guardianship. So you would need to contact a family law attorney to be able to help you with that. So we do have references of family law attorneys that can help with guardianship. We just highly recommend that if you want to go down that route, that you specify in the guardianship that this only takes effect if you are removed from the United States. So guardianship is ultimately the thing that you want to do if your your children want to stay here in the United States. Power of attorney is not going to help you in this situation. I know there's a lot of misinformation about that a power of attorney is what you need to do. In the state of California, you got to do guardianship. So we can refer you to attorneys that help with this if you so request this information. But do we have any questions about the family preparedness plan?
Giovanni, while we're waiting for questions, I don't see any yet. If Maria could scroll up to the bottom of page 4, I was so glad that you drew those distinctions between the caregiver authorization, guardianship, and power of attorney. I just wanted to show where people who were watching could locate that information in this packet. So it's between the bottom of page 4 and the top of page 5.
No,
You can
type
keep
in
going.
page 4 on the very top.
Yeah. You can just keep scrolling up too.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank you for covering that. It's an important distinction in California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the reason why I say that is because we've heard a lot of people say that they were recommended to get power of attorney. It does not help in this scenario. It helps in other things, but if you want your children to stay in the United States, guardianship. That's what you got to do. So we just recommend that you specify that it's only if you or maybe your spouse are removed from the United States that's when this takes effect.
I don't believe we have any questions at this time. I think we've answered them.
Marianne, can you share what you said again? You're cut off.
So sorry. I don't believe we have any questions at this time. None have come in through the Q&A since the last one we answered.
Okay. So while we give people an opportunity to leave any questions in the Q&A, I'll just start to wind us down. I want to thank El Concilio for the time that you've given us and the preparation that you brought into tonight. I want to thank the attendees for your patience as we were working through some of the audio difficulties. And then although much of this information was being provided, like directly speaking, I want to thank those of you who were attending on behalf of someone, so that way you could provide any kind of assistance. The more knowledgeable we are about how to help our neighbors benefits our entire community. So I want to thank all of you that although you may not be concerned that much or any of this information may affect you or your family directly, the fact that you're here to be able to direct questions or people that may come to you could be helpful. So thank you for your generosity and time as well. And so it's just after 7. We had hoped to go until 7 for the presentation. We had been prepared to stay until 7:30. It doesn't look like we'll need to do that. But unless Marianne feels a little bit differently, I figured we would sit for just a couple of minutes. There's one question that just popped up.
It was a thank you, and it may be something to consider doing again. We appreciate that, and we hope to put up the recording, as we had mentioned earlier, for those that might not have been able to attend for some reason.
Okay, so we'll sit for just a couple of minutes, just in the event that there's another question or a question that comes through. But meanwhile, again, thank you for taking the time to join us today. Thank you for assisting in your community. Have a good evening.